In the previous episode, a special meeting of the Defense Forces was held to discuss strategies for dealing with Kaiju number 9. After Hashina conveyed all the information he got from Kaiju number 10 regarding Kaiju number 9. In the end, everyone agreed to improve the abilities of the young soldiers and will awaken Kaiju weapon number 6, which will be the key to the next battle. Now what will it be like? Keep watching this video until the end. The story continues by showing a flashback to a few years ago when Kaiju number 6 appeared. This is a nightmare moment that is not only etched in history but also in everyone's memory. Even though at that time the Defense Forces managed to eradicate the 3 companion Kaiju, the fact is that their attacks had no impact at all on Kaiju number 6. Because Kaiju number 6 really looked like a Kaiju king who was able to lead the other Kaiju. The scene changes to the current situation. Ogata is seen thinking about Ichikawa, who is chosen as the candidate for wearing Kaiju number 6 combat suit. Ogata felt a little uneasy when he learned that the responsibility for Ichikawa would be handed over to him, especially considering that Kaiju number 6 is a terrible catastrophe that not only has a power scale of 9.6, but also has the ability to command various main Kaiju in carrying out attacks. Until now, Ogata has never forgotten the bitter memories when the 2nd Division troops faced Kaiju number 6 centering on Commander Hikari Shinomiya. Although at that time they managed to defeat Kaiju number 6 after the 1st Division also participated as reinforcements, it was still a disaster that had caused many casualties, including Hikari Shinomiya. Until the Kaiju was engraved in everyone's memory to this day as a symbol of despair. But who would have thought? Now they would instead hand over the power of the terrible Kaiju to Ichikawa, who is still in his teens. A moment later, one of Ogata's subordinates came to report that the Kaiju weapon test number 6 for Ichikawa had been completed. They prepared. Looks Ichikawa, who already wears the attribute of Kaiju weapon number 6 on his arm, to do a trial match first. But before the trial will begin, for a moment Ichikawa also briefly remembered his conversation with Ogata, who at that time said that Ichikawa had been appointed as the user of Kaiju weapon number 6. Ogata explained that the weapon was called Numbers. Numbers is a very powerful weapon that, if mastered well, it can make the user able to face special types of Kaiju alone. But on the other hand, the burden received by the user is more, because he will be at the forefront of a battle that will make half of the users lose their lives while on duty. Among all number weapons, number 6 is what is called the strongest and most dangerous weapon. Ogata knew that as a member of the Defense Forces in charge of protecting this country, his words might sound inappropriate, but he would say it frankly to Ichikawa. It's better for Ichikawa to resign from this responsibility. Even so, Ichikawa is determined that he will continue his duties as Kaiju weapon user number 6. Especially after he heard that Kafka became part of the Defense Forces fighting force as Kaiju number 8. Of course, Ichikawa will not remain silent, because who else will save Kafka besides him? Looks like Ichikawa asked Commander Ogata to immediately start the trial with a look of confidence in his eyes. But right when the activation of number 6 has begun, and there is no problem with the assimilation of the form and synchronization of the nerves, suddenly Ichikawa even felt tremendous pressure on his body, as if all his energy was immediately sucked out, even though he was only wearing part of his arm. Although at that time Ichikawa was determined that he would not lose to the power of Kaiju number 6, but after Ichikawa saw Kaiju number 6 who suddenly appeared in front of him, in the end Ichikawa could not resist that power and immediately lost his consciousness. From that incident, Ichikawa realized that it turned out that all this time, Kafka had also always fought with such terrible creatures. When Ichikawa had regained consciousness from his stupor, Iharu was seen coming to see his condition. Ichikawa asked if he failed the compatibility test with Kaiju weapon number 6. Then Ogata, who was also there at that time, then answered him by asking Ichikawa back, "Do you now understand how terrible it is to use a weapon created from Kaiju number? Even just remembering a part of it will make the user's body receive such a large load, let alone if he remembers it all." Ogata once again suggested to Ichikawa that he should just retreat. But at that time, Ichikawa replied that he still wouldn't retreat. Suddenly, Ogata wondered why Ichikawa didn't have any doubts at all, even though this was very dangerous. Not to mention that, if he jumped into the front line with Kaiju weapon number 6, then he would definitely lose his life in no time. But because Ogata felt that Ichikawa was not the type to just obey, then Ogata also gave Ichikawa a 1-month trial period. Within that month, he would include Ichikawa in various extermination missions, and Ichikawa had to show him that he was worthy of using Kaiju weapon number 6. A few days later, we can see Iharu, who is preparing to carry out Kaiju extermination. Iharu muttered, "Honestly, when Ichikawa failed the numbers trial, part of him felt relieved because he didn't want to lose to Ichikawa." But after Iharu realized that he was very shameful for feeling like that to his own colleague. In the end, Iharu will also focus on improving his abilities in his own way so as not to lose to Ichikawa. The scene moves to the location of the Kaiju extermination. It is reported that the evacuation process and military blockade with a radius of 5 kilometers from Sector M to Sector R have been completed. Then the report of the military blockade from Sector A to Sector N has also come in. With this, the process of encircling all Kaiju in the extermination area has been completed. While after Ogata received the report, then asked Ichikawa, "Are you ready?" On the other hand, Iharu was seen who seemed impressed when he saw the Kaiju combat suit number 6 worn by Ichikawa. Iharu muttered, "Even though he hasn't released his power yet, I can already feel the cold just by standing by his side." Likewise, Ogata, he never thought that Ichikawa was really able to produce results that made him worthy of being included in real battles in just 1 month. Even though initially Ogata intended to give him an impossible task so that young people who often acted great like Ichikawa could see reality. Tako said, "If this is a company, then Ogata's actions include abuse of power." Tako was also quite surprised to see Ichikawa's out-of-the-ordinary development since he joined the defense force, even though his current combat power release rate still lags far behind Kokoro's. According to Tako, Ichikawa remains far superior in terms of speed of development. In response, Ogata said, "Maybe this is called talent, but even so, real battles never go like training." Ogata then explained to Ichikawa, this time Ichikawa will participate in the team in charge of exterminating the main Kaiju. The opponent is a Type 67 mole Kaiju. This Kaiju will appear every 5 years in this region. Since its first appearance in 67, its strength scale is 6.4. So as soon as Ogata feels that Ichikawa is unable to fight, Ogata will immediately replace Ichikawa to exterminate it. Ogata also said, "Okay, now show me that the decision to give up Kaiju battle suit number 6 was the right decision." Quickly, Ichikawa immediately moved first to carry out the extermination mission, making Iharu very surprised when he saw Ichikawa's speed. Here we can also see Ichikawa, who met the companion Kaiju who was preparing to attack him, but when Ichikawa planned to avoid his lunge and then attack from the side, suddenly Ichikawa could not control the freezing ability he got from his battle suit, making it difficult for Ichikawa to avoid the Kaiju's attack. Fortunately, when the Kaiju was once again about to launch its attack on Ichikawa, who had not been able to move, quickly Iharu immediately shot at the Kaiju to save Ichikawa while muttering, "I can definitely do something." But at that time, the Kaiju in front of him suddenly received a surprise attack from Ichikawa. Suddenly, Iharu became very surprised and again muttered, "What kind of attack power is that?" Here we see Ichikawa standing on the tree right above the Kaiju. Ichikawa also muttered, "Calm yourself down, and just do it like during training." At that time, Ichikawa also began to freeze his loan with ice, so as not to waver. Then shot the kaiju until it managed to destroy its core. Iharu, who saw it, was very surprised by the increase in Ichikawa's strength now. Even Iharu was almost harmed, because there was still another kaiju that was going to attack him from behind. Again, Iharu was again surprised by Ichikawa, who was suddenly beside him to finish off the kaiju with multiple ice shots while saying, "Thank you, Iharu. Because of you I can think clearly. Now leave the rest to me."